Hi, I'm Jennifer Roberts. Welcome to my writing on the wall with tarot, I suppose, this time. Well, I'm dressed in army gear and tried to find something. So if you've been watching my videos for a while, you'll have heard me picking up on from quite a while ago this new build-up of Iran, Persia, and the things that the countries want from there. And the build-up and the energies and remote viewing, all of these things culminating to me letting you know that they are going to start, raising the FFs, that wave in the wind. Fly them at full mast and half mast. And there've been a sort of rumbling in the background, half mast, and it's going to be very soon that they're going to raise that up to full mast. And so I put this on to show that, is this what we want? Is this what we really call higher consciousness? And are the leaders that we allow to be leaders that continuously lie about the reasoning for wars? Are we willing to back this continuous cycle of bloodshed? Are we willing to send our sons and daughters away for lies, for what is not what they say it is? I've got love for soldiers. My granddad was one of the bravest, and he realized when he was there that it was children fighting children, adults from similar backgrounds fighting adults, all just doing their job. And we've witnessed the capacity leaders have to coerce certain people that work within their systems to just do their job, to wrestle people to the ground for not muzzling their face, to bolt into people's houses just to check the person to room ratio in the UK here. You've seen that in Australia, Germany, France, Spain. Do we want this? And are we going to continue to be so short-sighted to say that this is okay and that we will endorse and have and put up with leaders in power that think that they can continuously lie to us? Now, reading not so long ago, I alluded to this being, well, quite a while ago, actually. I've kept saying this is never, WW2 never ended. It just continued. It went underground. It went into surveillance mode and out of the sight of the major countries that were involved in it in the first place, because they were off doing their damage elsewhere. They were off, going elsewhere to do their damage. And so we have been watched, we have been controlled, manipulated, pre-programmed. And we see that pre-programming was essential for what would be the emergency number in America. That event that would be the emergency number in America, I said we were going to see the culmination of that ritual done by homeland leaders, bolstered by and endorsed by UK leaders. We're going to see the culmination of that ritual rolling into this ritual. So we're going to start to see that regarding Iran and Persia. I told you that you were going to start to hear the drums of war again, and that there were going to be these major FFs. And if you haven't been listening closely, you might have missed that already Al-Qaeda has already been pinpointed in Iran now, magically, being housing Al-Qaeda there. Wouldn't they be backing US leaders of the past if that was the case? Because don't we all know that by now? And if we don't, we need to go and research a bit more. So this is where you're going to start to see that as part of this distraction around the world, this has been one of the major moving parts behind the scenes. They want certain things there. They need Persia. And this is directly from the shadowy hands that we never see. Of the 200 something, 300 maybe, 50 in the inner circle, members that puppet and rule this world on behalf of whatever it is. And so this is where we need to be super aware of this. And they're going to start to talk about this more. You're going to start to see this more. In the US, you already have. In the UK, they were pre-programming by, sending soldiers out to knock on doors to do testing. Not nationwide, but, enough that it got coverage. So you're going to start to see this more. They're going to start to make you proud to protect your homeland. They're going to start to make you proud to liberate another people. Which war has liberated and left any country in a better state than when they went in? Which soldier has come back home to the kind of means that they would need to live properly once they've fulfilled their job, once they've fulfilled their purpose? In the UK, we see them sleeping on the streets. So this is where we have to make a noise. And we, thankfully, through psychic knowings, through learning how to read them, learning how to watch them, can preempt it. So where they've got us distracted and shouting about all of the things regarding the CV, we preempt them and start to make enough noise, write in, put it all over social media that you do not consent to war and you do not believe their lies regarding why they want to go to war regarding Iran. That it is more about a takeover of land, and it is directed from the very few people that have been in far too much control in the first place, wanting full and complete control, and they need the area of Iran, Persia, in order to do so. In fact, it is a threat to their plans of dominance. They want to create these nightmares in people's minds with this Nine of Swords. They want to create the nightmares by starting to pre-program uniforms being on the streets, that there's a threat. There's threats everywhere. There's an invisible monster. There's a threat of this. There's a threat of that, just to have you having nightmares in your sleep, having you worried about your children going to war, having you worried about your children witnessing this uniform on the once peaceful streets. This has been a work of in the building. This has been from the societies. See what he's doing here? Looks freehand, doesn't it? Looks, I don't know. Pretty freehand there, isn't he? With his hammer and chisel, building that up like a real good mason would. So we see that all of these societies start to help with the drums of war in order to have the full and complete control that they are after with that Ace of Pentacles. We have all the tools on the table at the bottom of the deck as the Magician, but so do they. And so we need to use them. We need to know when to preempt them. We need to know that all of these things, the earth that is represented here, the swords, the air, the thoughts, the words, the deeds are represented here. The earth again that's represented here, as well as the emotions here, and the fire is all part of our elemental makeup too. So we can hook into this too. We can be the middle that causes that wedge that is in the middle of the above and the below, quite literally, the leaders and the people. So be aware of these war drums, be aware of these things starting to be said. Remember that this was all said to you before. And there are people out there, firefighters, people who were there that day, people who have lost people, who had their final phone calls, and nobody that was culpable was ever brought to justice. There is enough research. There's a whole group of firefighters, lawyers that are trying to get that heard over and over again. So we know enough about the truth of that. We know their games. We know that they'll manufacture and make up reasons. I know it's tough to hear, but over the last 4 years, there has been such building with the UK, with the US regarding Israel. 6 of coins there to clarify the Ace of Pentacles. There's been such reciprocity to build those relations and to build relations via that and constantly be on the side of them, just regardless of anything else, in order to build relations, to do this, to go forward with this, to put this forward to the people. King of Swords. We need to have clarity and take authority here over our mindset, over the way that we are thinking, because the King of Swords can cut through this with an authority of one's own mind, because that is what they harness each and every time. They harness that within the people to get consent. They need consent to go forward towards this goal. And this needs to be stopped, not only for the people in the Middle East, not only for the soldiers that would be heading out over there, but for the fact that we would have, it's going to be far harder to have authority over your mind, over your actions, if this continues on, and if Iran is taken, because then there is this global power up for grabs. And so we've got the Page of Wands here. Be mutable in the fire, be receptive to the message and carry the message forward. The Page of Wands is good at flexing with and seeing the moving parts and not being too fixed on the how to get there, but to just make purpose of the journey in general. So make purpose of everything you've got right now. Speak out that message. So we've got the 6 of Cups clarifying the 8 of Pentacles, and this is to speak of the past. The past showing up in the present again. Another monster, you know, that was manufactured in the past, popping up again in a great way. So just be aware of this. Do what you can to stop this. Do what you can, because it's not just, as I say, and this is enough of a reason to stop soldiers having to go to another needless war, to have their blood spilt, have women, children and men's blood spilt in whichever country they're going to have war with. But it is about our children and what capacity these people who hide in these shadows, who hide underground, have to control their reality here. Ask yourself, do you agree with the fact that somebody can own the world? Do you agree with the fact that somebody, anybody, a few, can own and control the movements and even manufacture to their own needs the movements of people anywhere, anyone? Because this is what we've been consenting to for far too long. This is what we've been giving our either consent in silence consent in fear, consent in conformity, consent in voice, for far too long. Consent in our actions. So while we've been distracted over something we could have dealt with far more productively, far more effortlessly, we have been distracted from major moving parts, continuing on in the background to work up to this. So we see that this has been complacency on our part as a collective, and we must not have complacency anymore regarding needless war and wars for reasons that are nothing but lies, deceit, and manipulation. So please share this video, please subscribe if you haven't already done so. It is what it is. I get the messages that I get and I put them out there, and I've been putting this out there for a long while, that we were seeing the culmination of never really coming out of WW2. Never really waking up in enough numbers to the games that they play in order to manufacture and create the needs for wars. The fact that it's a huge way for them to put their stranglehold and chains, and I'm not even talking about any one government, I'm talking about these people in the shadows, these beings in the shadows that puppet these people in front of us to do so. I'm talking about no side, because they play every side. They finance every side. So that photograph on my altar space in the back is a photograph of my granddad's plaque. The Lord Mayor's wife, and the tiny little beautiful lady in the middle is my granny, my granddad's wife. And he got that plaque because he went to war, and he got medals of honor for above and beyond bravery. He allowed people, he actually facilitated people to escape out of the Japanese prisoner of war camps. And he stayed back because he knew he had a better chance of survival, only on a will and a prayer, than the people that he was letting go before him. He got that plaque because he came home and he would never join Parliament, even though they begged him, that man in the picture included. They still know my granddad's name when I mention him to even council members who are new now, because he shook them up, he changed things. They begged him to become a part of Parliament. They begged him to become a part of being a member. And every time he said no. And he was doing this for years. He would pound pavement, me and him. I would walk around with him, sucking his black bullet sweets, while he built things for the community that he lived in, including that library where that plaque was put up. Getting that built for the children that had no access to any library close by. He did that because he saw, and he refused to join and get the huge pay packet that he would have gotten, because he always said, I can be a bee in your ear, I can be an annoyance, I can be something that commands you to not do something or to do something if I am not party to it, if I'm not earning a wage from it. If I truly am for the people. If I join you, if I take that wage, I see what I would be told to do. So through that war, he saw the true things behind the cogs in the wheel, behind boys killing boys. Boys of a similar age that would have played football if they'd met up on any other day in any other circumstance. And so he got that plaque because everybody recognized the work that he did. The newspaper was there, it's a newspaper picture, but he realized that it was a collective mission. And I try and live up to his name. And I'm warning you with the gifts that I have to not consent to this war and start making noise about it now before they start drip feeding you even more regarding the reasons for this war, the reasons to be afraid. This belt here, I've shown it before, was something that my granddad made to keep himself sane. And it got riveted when he got home, but it's the same leather, and this belt wrapped around him twice and tied like this. When the Americans picked him up 4 years later, after the UK government had lied saying gone, because they'd already had their trumpet roll for everybody coming home. When the Americans picked them up, this wrapped around twice, and you can see how tiny it is already. And the British government said, no, don't give them back yet, feed them up. We can't let the public see them like this. And so they came back, fat as butter, my granny would say, because the Americans did. They rescued them and fed them up. And but there was no trumpet roll. There was no speaking about what they'd been through in the prisoner of war camps. The medals were given out, but of course that's in ceremony and everybody's standing. Nobody's discussing really in public, to the public, really what went on. So this is where we have to change our consciousness if we want to call ourselves light workers, if we want to call ourselves warriors, if we want to call ourselves anything regarding higher consciousness, then we need to start to rein these people in and pull these people out of the shadows, giving them less and less power over the world. Because believe you me, while we've all been distracted through the banking system, they've been gaining a lot. And so we need to do this. This is a huge step for us to take preemptively in order to release this stranglehold that these beings have in the shadows, and to deconstruct the very systems and puppets that would wage such reasons for war, or war at all. You're going to hear it coming out more and more that the scientist that was actually killed on Iranian soil was actually investigating the fact of the being very unsafe and warning people as such. So you're going to see that already there have been attempts to silence the narrative from Iran. So much love, stay balanced and stay whole and get loud, real loud. I appreciate you all. I'm going to be writing off to every MP that I can think of. I'm going to be doing whatever I can do to make it known to the universal energies, to put it out there that I don't consent, that this should be no more than cover for going fishing. So much love, stay balanced and stay whole. Mwah. If you want a personal reading with me, personal tarot reading, if you want any spiritual guidance sessions or any energy work sessions that will get you all balanced out, your equilibrium all right, we can do that by hooking up with me at truedivinemedia@gmail.com. If you want to get me, you can also get me on my Facebook business page, True Divine 44. I appreciate you all. And just sending love out to everybody, particularly the children. Keep them upbeat, keep them distracted, in order right now to be able to transmute their energies. It's been a very weird time for them, and they did not deserve to go through any of this in this way. We could have dealt with everything far more effortlessly. And you may know if there was people going around, maybe we wouldn't have had anything to deal with at all. I love you all. Mwah.